talking AGP, anti-gravity project. I respect, staying true to the tech. We got the evil address and the pink Miss Will. Got the dark matter token going up, I can tell. Hey, I can tell this is the start of something fresh. Shout out Hex Revision and on the Hex, yes. I confess, Hexicans don't stress, cause as a community we one of the So tell me, are you in, or tell me, are you out? Do you want to win, or do you chase the clout? What is this really about? The treasury and lottery. If you meant dark tokens, you can get a part of it. So how does it work? Let me explain. First you buy the dark token, now you're in the game. Then you mint the dark and get a fuel cell. That's an NFT, one that earns yield. As long as you have it, it feels like magic. But if you vaporize the NFT, that's tragic. So most think crypto is a game. Are you here for the fame, or here to make a name? See, Hexicans reign, we create our own lane. I thought I told you, we the new financial gain. AGproject.io was the flow. And if you know what I know, then you know what I know. That's just how it go. Something like to support the team, the dream. Public service announcement, t.me/anti-gravity saga is the telegram. Tap in. It's for y'all. I'm talking AGP, anti-gravity project. I respect, staying true to the tech. We got the evil address and the pink Miss Will. Got the dark matter token going up, I can tell.
Hey kids, this is Pulse Revision coming to you live from Cuatro Cinco Studio in my mom's basement. And we have a very special stream and a very special guest today with us. And we're going to go over Pulsechain, we're going to go over Atropa, we're going to go over PDI from someone who's really done a deep dive and been working with that community to understand what they believe is going on and what could be the future for our community. We got Red Squirrel saying oi oi, we got Smo Spider saying hi. We'll probably see a bunch of other people jumping in here in the comments. We'll try to keep up with them. But welcome very much, Coexistence. Stephen, could you just introduce yourself to us and tell us your origin story of how you got to where you are right this second in life?
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you, Max. Yes. So for anyone who knows me, my name is Stephen. I've been running a YouTube channel pretty much since the launch of Pulsechain. So I'm a day one Hexican. I wasn't like I didn't come to Hex by being a Richard Hart maxi or anything like this. One of my friends introduced the concept to me, and I have a lot of trust for that particular friend. And I bought a little bit with my Ethereum at the time, and I was going to buy a lot more. And he was like, no, don't buy that much. It's like, we don't know how risky this is or not. And I wish I didn't listen, to be honest, but I ended up basically getting in day one. And then through that process, I was swapping Hex for Ethereum back and forth. I was actually trying to build my Ethereum stack. So I didn't really have this huge attachment to Hex. I didn't really know too much about it. And then one day in the process of flipping to the Hex side, Hex took off. And I became like, I freaked out. I was like, oh no, I'm losing all my Ethereum here because Hex keeps going up. And it was like the best financial mistake that I ever made, because obviously, as we know, Hex went and did a 10,000x. So that stack of Hex that I ended up having made me fall in love with the community. I was still looking into Richard Hart videos, but I was like, I thought he was really awesome, but I was very put off by his abrasiveness and his arrogance, which was something that didn't resonate with me at all. But I could see he's actually a good person at heart. I could actually really see that. And then obviously he sacrificed for Pulsechain, and you were talking about Texan earlier. And so the two lads there, Brandon and Matt, I joined a Zoom stream with them one day when they were talking about Texan token. They did like a private Zoom stream. And he was talking about how you become the voice. And I thought, you know what? It just something that he said made me really want to start a YouTube channel. So I decided to start. And then from there, I was a core coin maxi. Obviously, when you get the results, then you're really devoted to that. getting a 10,000x. It's hard to break away from that. But I had friends talking to me about PDI and Atropa and Teddy Bear, and I was very resistant at first. And then I thought, oh, you know what? I'll start looking into it. And when I started to look into it, it completely blew my mind. And then from there, I just kept digging and digging and digging, and my channel became predominantly about Atropa and PDI. And so I suppose people would probably consider me to be a maxi of that. But I just love everything on Pulsechain. So I'm a Pulsechain maxi in the sense of I want every community to win. I don't care what it is. I just want everybody to win. And I just focus on the things that I know about, and I enjoy talking about those things.
Awesome. And you also touch on a lot of things about consciousness and getting connected with your higher self, and different methodologies and perspectives to calm yourself down in a world of crypto where everyone is losing their mind. Emotions are at the extreme. I talk shit and go on rants at least twice a week, where I just like lost my cool and I'm just angry about something and I just vent to the community. So how did you get into that path?
Great question. So I studied architecture. So I had a very, very busy mind, and I started my own business. But then in my master's degree on my last year, I stumbled across a particular meditation method, and it promised enlightenment. And I was like, okay, well, this is something that I'm looking for. I had experiences prior to that, which led me to believe that there was more to life than just this physical reality. And this concept of myself disappeared in my mind. And I was like, holy shit, this is like the most blissful experience I've ever had. There was no pain, no suffering, all the negativity. I was an extremely negative, angry person, always depressed, always sad. And this thing just completely transformed my mind. So from that moment, I've been meditating now for over 10 years. And it's not that I've stopped my architecture, but I'm now in Brisbane because this nonprofit organization has centers all over Australia. And the one in Brisbane got set up a couple of years ago. So I decided to move over and run the center. And I've felt like because of that, it has led me to where I am also in Pulsechain and with the Atropa ecosystem and PDI. I feel like having that kind of consciousness, that clarity of mind has led me to where I am. So it's been like a hack, I feel, in the way that I've been able to like navigate through reality. But it doesn't mean that I don't get like emotional as well, particularly around the last couple of weeks. Like it's been, I'm meditation and keep calm, but I'll still get stressed. Like the intensity of the war that's been going on in the community has been like, I can't help but also feel those things as well. If I'm separated from it, if I go outside, I won't think about it. No problem. But if I'm in it because I'm trying to create content and share what I know, then just inevitably I'm consuming all that stuff. And it's really like it messes with my head. So there'll be some days where I'm just like, right, I'm just going to try and, I'll just meditate for hours and hours and hours. And really, it really helps me a lot to stay like centered and calm, but I still do get like pulled around in this tornado. It's wild, man. Like I've never experienced this degree of turmoil in anything that I've been involved in my life.
Well, and when you meditate, do you have a method that you like? Do you do guided meditation? Do you do a mantra, or what is your favorite form of meditation?
So the method that I practice and teach is like a discarding meditation. So it's all about self-reflection. So basically, this body is like a 5 senses camera. So we have our 5 senses, and with this, we're like recording everything into this mind. And so inside of here, we have this mind world. And from that mind world, that's how I'm actually looking at reality. So when we talk about matrix, everybody's got their own individual matrix in their mind. And so this meditation method is about clearing away that picture world in my mind. That's where all the stress, the pain, the suffering comes from. So it's like a discarding meditation where you discard the thoughts, the feelings, the emotions, this entire self until it disappears, and all that remains is the universe. And so when you're living as the universe, everything just flows. But again, it doesn't necessarily mean like all the time is you still in a human body, still get sad, still get happy, but not attached to it, not bound to it. In the past, if I had some like really sad experience, I might be depressed for months. Whereas now yeah, some depression will come up from the situation, but I can very quickly overcome it and just keep moving in life. So there's a huge difference. There's a profound difference. So yeah, it's really about clearing away. There's also, you could say, like a prayer or a mantra as we're doing it as well. So it's a guided meditation. So I guide it.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that with me. I've tried several things, guided meditations, and just absolutely nothing. But yeah, it's definitely improved improved my life quite a bit. We've got Zero Negative with some fire enjoying us. We got Bright Light saying, "What up? No fork needed for Dart to survive." This is just clickbait. And that is Ray. He's the founder of the Yup token, and he streams as well. He's an awesome streamer. And of course, Corey, an investor, says, "I'm back for the Alpha Max." What's up, Steven? And he's the rapper that created the Dark Matter rap that I played at the beginning of our intro.
Nice, man. It was awesome. I mean, the words as well is like, oh, I'm actually learning about the project here. So good job, Corey.
This is all just one deep trick to get you into our project. No, I'm kidding. Now let's try to jump into, like you were saying, Atropa. Have you, or has anyone that you've listened to, are you guys able to put Atropa into a sentence? If someone was to come up to you and they understood the basics of crypto and blockchain, and they said, "What is Atropa?" What's the most simple definition that you could give for the Atropa system or ecosystem?
Oh boy. I guess I could just summarize it as the creation of a truly decentralized financial system on the blockchain.
And the financial system would go to include banking and
Correct.
escrow, debt, stablecoin issuance, all of that stuff that we right now are still stuck in the old system of fiat.
Correct. And then even what we call DeFi now is really just an extension of the fiat system, which has been transplanted onto blockchain. So there still isn't like a coherent system that ties it all together. And so I see that the Atropa ecosystem is trying to do that, but it's doing it in a way that not only brings all the pieces together, but revolutionizes it in a way that can help cryptocurrency achieve the form that it's actually trying to achieve. So at the moment, I mean, is this really what crypto is, where it's just PvP against each other? You put your money into a pot of gold, and then at the end, there's like 1% of the people which pull all the money out of the pot of gold, and everybody else is left in tears. Is that really what we're doing here? It's just basically the stock market on steroids, and there's so much pain and suffering. So this really looks like something where it's creating a system where everybody can potentially win. So yeah, minting treasury bills, all the different instruments of a financial system. It's within this ecosystem, and it's a system. It's a system. That's probably the hardest thing to understand about it. Everybody still keeps looking at, like, I'll get questions often like, "Oh, which is the best token to buy?" Because he's made over 300 tokens, and that's not the way that I look at it. I don't look at it from the perspective of, like, okay, yes, teddy bear. You buy teddy bear, that's probably the one that's going to get the most upside, if that's what you want to, if that's just the way that you're looking at it. But I'm trying to look at the whole system and trying to understand what's actually happening with the totality of it rather than the individual pieces.
Okay. And who started the Atropa system? Was it a team or an individual? Do you know?
So this was Maria. So Maria, the 414 dev. And that's also been something that has been very fascinating about it, because obviously normally when you create a project, you'll build a community first, like we were discussing in the green room. You'll build a community, you have a white paper, you have a website. This is the team where docs come and buy our project. Whereas Atropa was just started appearing on Pulsechain. It was in the testnet as well. So it looked like Maria was also testing it on the testnet, and then just started working away. And so people, as they started to investigate what was happening on the blockchain with Pulsechain, they saw, okay, there's this dev with the last 3 digits is 414. So it became the 414 dev that was creating this ecosystem of tokens that were all interrelated, and they were all liquidity bonded in different kinds of ways. And he was building out this interconnected web. And so from there, then they ended up having, he ended up creating a token, an IRC token, and then that became the chat log. So then people were like communicating with him through the blockchain in a way. And then through that, they joined this IRC, and that's where he kind of like revealed himself and started communicating with people. But everything that he communicates is it's like encrypted, coded. It's obscure. Like, it's not, this conversation we're having is clear. It's using clear words. You know what I'm saying based on the words that I'm presenting. Whereas everything with Maria is like, it's just a head. It's just a head case.
Would you say like more meta?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. And if you go through like those chat logs, for example, which I'm not even sure that they're around anymore, but I went through at the start. I went through the whole thing, and I spent like more time than I'd like to admit trying to understand it. It drove me crazy, I'll be honest with you. But I also was able to see certain things, and okay, maybe this is what he's trying to say. It was like, that you get that. There's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, and Charlie, he's
Charlie
in front of
like, pointing at the yarns and going crazy.
That's kind of what I was like with the Atropa chat logs, right? So I'm starting to see all these different connections. So it seemed like that's the way that it was supposed to be, because it's not supposed to be like clear, straightforward. It's supposed to attract certain people who are trying to create something different. It wants to keep out greed. It wants to keep out a particular energy of people, and it wants to bring people who are actually wanting to create something beneficial for everybody, not just for the individual themselves. That's the kind of vibe and sentiment that I've gotten from it. And because of that, it's been deliberately like hidden in a way. It's not supposed to be something that's like easily understood and easily found. Obviously now it's a little bit different because it's been around now for what, 2 years, almost 2 years since Pulsechain was launched. So
and did Atropa launch on Pulsechain first and foremost? Correct.
So I believe he started the ecosystem on another blockchain called Tomochain, but it wasn't successful or something. And then he tried it on the testnet, and then he's launched it on Pulsechain. And one of the things that made him launch it on Pulsechain is he mentioned using like Scientology methods of reading people's energy, and he like did an assessment on Richard, and he's like, okay, Richard's being, his character checks out. So he's actually an authentic person with good morals. I want to align myself with this, and this is where I want to build. And so that's where he started building. And he was also a Hex OG. Like I was saying in the green room, I don't know if he was a day one Hexicon or not, but when he started his wallet, there was like a big amount of Hex, like 25 million Hex or 40 million Hex or something like this. So he had a lot of Hex. So he's very interested in Richard and Hex.
Awesome. And now, where does PDAI fit into this whole narration? Because PDAI is the Pulsechain copy of the DAI from Ethereum, correct?
Correct. So one of the things that he did at the start was he purchased 5 billion P-stable tokens. So he purchased 3 billion PDAI and 2 billion PUSDC. And then when he created Atropa, he bonded those assets together, and then he burnt it. So he threw away the LP. So then it's something that he can't take out from. And the reason why he did this was he believed that in order for Pulsechain to succeed, that the P stables and the P copies needed to reach parity. That was the measure of success for him. So then he basically like exploited that those price, the fact that everything was like 0.000 whatever. So he exploited that, and basically buying 5 billion tokens for like a handful of money. And since then he's kind of like built around that. So
Well, now, so how does it recently we've heard that PDAI was being used to extract or to pull money and bridge it out of Pulsechain recently. Is this an exploit in Atropa or an exploit in PDAI's code base, in your opinion?
This is an exploit in the P maker. So, and then even that is up for debate about whether it's even an exploit. So I've been looking at some of the like the blockchain communications that the exploiter has been has been using, and obviously Richard's been calling him an exploiter, and infinite minting. People have been throwing around this terminology, but it's not actually infinite minting. He's just essentially what he's doing is he's just utilizing the P maker. So everything got copied across, and he's just exploiting that code. So he's just able to mint from there he's minting from the vault. So it's not something where he's just minting free tokens out of nothing. It's actually getting taken out of the vaults. He'll swap it then into the actual stable coin. Then he bridges out. And then now with that, there's been people who are arguing and debating about whether he's bridging out and taking it off and that's it. There's some people who are saying, well, there's no proof that he's just extracting it. There's no proof that he might not be coming in from another kind of a wallet. So now there's a whole debate about whether he's actually a bad actor or a good actor. Some people are saying he's trying to teach us through the blockchain. Some people are saying he actually is compromised. It's really, there is no clarity around this, but yeah, the exploitation doesn't have anything to do with the Atropa ecosystem. The issue with the Atropa ecosystem is that because 3 billion PDI is connected with Atropa, and then Atropa is connected with all the other tokens around it. So if PDI is getting pulled down, it's also pulling down Atropa, which is also pulling down the whole Atropa ecosystem web. And so this was one of the big problems. So then Maria basically then identified that this is a massive issue, and he started to sell his Atropa and tried to protect his ecosystem, basically save some liquidity so that he could either rebuild elsewhere or try and save the system at a later point.
Because he burnt that liquidity in the beginning, would he basically need to fork Atropa to get away from the P maker problem?
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, it's basically like it's intricately bound with it, so it's impossible for it to not, because nobody can, Richard's told everybody to remove the LPs, but that LP cannot be removed, and that's the biggest LP with PDI. So it actually cannot be removed. So in order to save the Atropa ecosystem, you would either need to restart it or fork it or just create something entirely new. But it would just suck the whole system dry. So everybody who's got LP and Atropa would have to work together to just basically remove all the LP. But all the LP, all the liquidity is kind of like, it's just like fake liquidity on fake liquidity. It's like a mirage of liquidity. So when you create a token with zero value, as soon as you put it in a liquidity pool, it gives it a value. So if you have this PDI that's worth whatever it was at the time, and then you create an Atropa token, which is worth nothing, and then you bond it with this PDI, 3 billion PDI, that 3 billion PDI and however much Atropa you bonded it to equals what that market cap is. So it doesn't necessarily mean anyone put money into it. It's automatically given a value there. Then, of course, other people start to buy into it. That's how the liquidity flows into it. But if you imagine that and then you multiply that by hundreds of different tokens, it's just a big web of like smoke and mirrors liquidity. There is real liquidity in there as well, but there's just a lot of like fake liquidity. The whole idea of that Richard talks about as market cap being like a fake metric. It's like Atropa is that multiplied by hundreds of tokens within an ecosystem.
Yeah, it's kind of like the pools on the 2FUG system, where I'll create a pool that'll have like 6 tokens in it, but it's not 6 pairs because each one of those tokens has its own pair with the others. So if you put 6 tokens together in a pool, you're actually getting something like 23 pairs because they each go with each one. So it's kind of like that exactly. Web instead of just a chain.
Correct. And within that web, the thing which blew me away at the start was the interrelationship of how those tokens were related to each other. So this pairing and this pairing is creating a chart like this. This pairing and this pairing is creating a chart like this. This pairing and this pairing is creating a chart like this. So there's like this interplay and dynamics of all these different charts that seem like they're supposed to do all different things, which is supposed to look like it's keeping like an equilibrium across the whole system, which I found extremely fascinating. And that was something that I recently dug quite deep into, maybe like two or 3 months ago, I dug really into like, okay, what was the genesis of the Atropa ecosystem, the first 100 or so tokens. So I had a look at all of that, made some videos, and like, okay, we can see this is what he did with this token, and this was bonded with that one that way, and the numbers that he bonds things with, everything's like harmonic and rhythmic. You know, that this token supply is 1 1 1 1 1 1 1. This one is 2 2 2 2 2 2 2. This one is 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2. So it's very eloquent and beautiful, but it's very deep and difficult to understand. I mean, I've been trying to do this now, like I said, for over a year and a half, and I still feel like every time, oh, I really understand it now, and then I go a little bit deeper, and it's like, holy shit, I don't know anything about this. That's really like that really keeps me sucked into it and engaged with it. That's just something that my mind really loves, trying to solve this puzzle. And so when I hear people that, oh, you know, I understood the Atropa ecosystem in the first week, you know, I could see that he was creating this thing just to extract liquidity. I'm just like, man, I don't think like you understand even in the slightest what it is. You're only looking at it from your perspective. It's like going through Thailand. You fly to Japan and I fly through Thailand, and I go into the Thailand airport and I eat McDonald's, and then my perception of Thailand is it's full of fast food and full of McDonald's, and all I did was fly through the airport. So I just think there's so much arrogance around like people who think that they understand it, and I don't feel that they do. For me, it's very clear that they don't. If I have been studying it for nearly 2 years and I'm still like, I really feel like I'm just scratching the surface, I might not be the smartest person, but I don't think I'm that dumb to be able to like not see all of that, to be able to not be able to capture it all within a week. There's always the same quality of people who think that they understand it, but to me, it's like clear that they don't.
Yeah, it's very, very deep and interesting. Let's jump into catch up on these comments real quick. Small Spiders giving love. Corey, an investor, appreciate your compliments. Rich Sansbury says, "Hey boys, some lore alpha. Good evening, everyone. CryptoCat 46 is in the house." And then Rich Sansbury says, "For me, both sides have made good arguments for their versions of events, but also both sides lack overwhelming proof in that their argument is reality." So confusing. And yeah, it is very, very confusing. And then on top of that, as we spoke about at the beginning of this, we all create our own world inside our mind. So you have you have the world, then you have your own world. And, you know, I came up in a pretty religious background, and it wasn't, in my opinion, it wasn't a good system or cult to be in. And so after I had left that specific religion, I was able to look back and notice all the cognitive dissonance that I had going on. And so I understand that to a pretty deep. Sorry, go ahead.
Do you mind me asking what religion that was?
It was the LDS religion, the Mormon religion that I grew up in.
Okay. Sure. Yep.
Yeah. And like I said, about 10 years ago, I had this white light experience where I felt like I didn't need that specific organized religion or any organized religion. But I understand that for those that are not familiar with the term cognitive dissonance, it's basically being able to hold two opposing ideas in your head, but not letting them talk to each other. It's almost like this little border, this little fence that keeps the reason and logic from you putting two things together and be like, oh, well, if A, then B. It kind of stops that. And that's very, very strong in communities and crypto tribes where I know I'm very, very biased for and against certain crypto projects, certain crypto personalities, you know. And of course, when you have a project yourself, now all of a sudden it's like your baby, right? So it's like being a parent and going to a gymnastic event and not thinking that your kid is the best gymnast. Because like you're already going to think, dude, that's my kid. I made that. That's me. You know, you're living vicariously through your project. And so if my project gets along with one token and not another, all of a sudden I'm like, you know, I'm biased against that as well. And at the beginning of this, you know, all these black swan events, or as I like to call them, a whole flock of black swans that have kamikazed into our ecosystem recently. I just started pulling all the liquidity I could. We had a whale that provided hundreds of thousands of dollars of liquidity with Hex. And we finally, although we were overwhelmingly grateful for it, we had to ask him and a lot of our partners, please pull all your liquidity because Hart's Law is taken until we know we found a floor or a bottom, right? And so we see Hart's Law or liquidity webs working within this ecosystem. And a lot of people are wondering, like, do we have to start over, or can we just make clones on pump.tires? You know what I mean? And hit the restart button. How do you view the idea of forking, restarting, or trying to move a community over to a cloned token?
I think it's a good solution, but it's going to be next to impossible because there's always going to be people who sit in this side of the camp, and there's always going to be people who sit on this side of the camp. And even you've seen it with Matty Allen's token. So they believe that Richard Hart was talking to them and encouraging them to create like a fork. And then, let's create a fork. But then everybody in the PDAR community is just like, no, I'm not interested in that, even in the slightest. They all believe like, we have our beliefs and the exploiter's not actually an exploiter. This is all something that's going to be beneficial. We just have to believe. We just have to hold on to this vision. So it's almost like, it's kind of like, it's a good idea in theory if everybody would play along with it. But I just don't think everybody's going to play along with it. I think you'll end up getting a split where people will go, all right, well, we definitely just want to detach ourselves. We want to cut the limb off. We want to say, right, we've had enough of this pain. Let's cut the Atropa ecosystem off. Let's cut the P stables off. Let's just start something different. But you're still going to have all these believers that are going to stay and go, well, we believe that something here is going to come to fruition. So you're going to end up losing like a percentage of the community in that process. So there is no like ideal solution in that regard. Just in my opinion, there's just every debate that you go to, people go in with a certain preconceived idea and they'll leave with the same preconceived idea. They're basically just arguing for their perspective. And when you talk about cognitive dissonance, man, I don't think anybody's had more cognitive dissonance in this than me. I really don't think. I mean, if you look at someone like Somi's very staunch. He's like, this is what I believe. And he's not even, he's seen it, but he's like, I don't give a shit. I just believe this. This is what I see. I see it in markets all the time. And he's like holding firm to his position. I've been a little bit, much more like swayed. I'm trying to take in all the different perspectives. And it's like, it actually was driving me insane because I'm like, my heart is telling me this. I've gotten this far within the ecosystem. I've tried to be a good person. I feel like whatever you want to call this, existence, God, universe, whatever, I feel like that has directed me here, right here, to this point in time, that there's something true and right about this. It can't just all collapse like this. I have to really hold on to that faith that I don't actually know what's happening, but I believe that everything's going to be all right in the end. So when I'm trying to take in all the information, this side is saying this side is saying this. My heart is just firm on where we're going, but my brain is just like being torn apart. So then I'm just like, you know what? I can't handle this anymore. I actually just have to stick to my position and just ignore all the other stuff because it literally was driving me crazy. Like I couldn't sleep. It was effed up, man. It was effed up. I lost a lot of sleep. So
yeah, I get so there's a lot of internal turmoil, and because you are like people always say, do you want to be right or do you want to be rich? And in crypto, those of us looking for financial freedom are like, we've had to swallow our pride and be humble to learn new things, just to go into Hex or just to leave Ethereum and things that we believed were going to happen. And right now we're all being wrestling with the fact that the timing of the cycles is not lining up the way it used to. Ethereum is just in some weird sabotage mode where it should be up past its previous highs by now. If you follow the four-ish year cycle. So a lot of us are like, well, shoot, what is going to happen? Like we were so certain on these things. We put our energy and our life and our money into them and our attention, which is, super, super scarce these days. And we're all, definitely want to see our side win, or we would definitely want to be rewarded for that loyalty and for taking action and sticking to our conviction, right?
100%. Yeah, I mean, that's the mind of success as well, being able to pivot and being able to read the situation and go, okay, well, I have to adapt to the conditions, but there's so many things which don't seem to make sense and don't seem to line up with what's happening, which is making even that ability to be able to like pivot in the moment very, very difficult. Like you said, the 4-year cycles of like it's been completely broken with everything, with the whole thing. I mean, who would have guessed that Trump was going to make a meme coin before his inauguration, and it would have sucked the liquidity from every single blockchain into his token and then just rugged? Who would have guessed that? No one would have guessed that.
No, I did not see that coming at all.
No, and everything's been crap since then. Everything has been absolutely garbage since then. That was like, could that have been the top? Some people are saying that's the top. Some people are saying, well, maybe things are going to change now. Like once Trump does whatever he's going to do and pulls everything out and re-goes, then it's takeoff. So we just have to kind of wait and see.
Yeah, let's go back here to the hi. Let's go back here to the comments. Mormons believe in aliens, or are we here by them? No. I don't know about aliens, but there's definitely some multi-planet ideas going on in the religion.
I didn't think Mormons believed in aliens, did they?
They believe in multiple worlds and all sorts of crazy stuff like that. No, not going to pretend. I did enjoy dropping the following 2 emojis in chats everywhere: steak and eggplant. Steak and eggplant. I'm not sure what that code is yet. Believe in yourself. You have to bring it back up. Who's to say that something, anything, wouldn't affect the forked version in the future because of Hart's law? Yeah, that's true. Every time you fork, you always leave some residue and some connections to the previous chain. So that's true.
Correct.
Song memory triggered. My heart's divided. My love undecided by Shannon. I believe that's from the 80s. It's not coming to mind by the title, but I like Believe in Yourself. He's got an interesting voice and quite an interesting perspective he brings to this as well. So yeah, steak 9-inch. Yeah, steak 9-inch if that's where your conviction is. I would say going forward, we were sitting here waiting for some information on the SEC case against Richard Hart. We believed that that would be the trigger that would bring on a bull market, and it turns out it didn't really do much of anything, and then we continue to go down. So even the white swan events that we've been very painfully patiently waiting for have not turned out the way that we had hoped in this community. What do you think? How do you think people can know that we've hit a floor? Besides, obviously, hindsight. What do you think are some of the signs you're looking for to say, okay, we finally hit the bottom?
Under the current situations, if this exploiter is legitimately extracting and the system is really, really going down, then it's really going to be at the conclusion of however that ends, because that's been like the biggest catalyst for the most recent. I mean, Pulsechain, it was trending down, but now it's even broken below that downtrend. So it really seems like however this concludes would have to be a bottom. It would have to be like, people who've had enough. There's been big players that have capitulated. They've had enough of Pulsechain. They've sold everything and left. So, yeah, for me, it would have to be the conclusion of whatever this is. That would have to be a bottom of some, or at least a bottom. I mean, every time you think there's a bottom, there's always another bottom. So
we can't go any lower, folks. We can't go any lower.
But I guess, yeah. I mean, I hate talking about bottoms because it's every time you think, okay, this is a bottom, guys, we're good to go, and then there's just something that happens that you were not anticipating. Like nobody would have anticipated this happening. Nobody on the blockchain would have even had an inkling of an idea that this could potentially happen. So yeah, I really think nothing could get as worse as this. I mean, even if you look at the whole span, the lifespan of Pulsechain, this is, even in the context of the SEC, even though the dramatic drop with the SEC was huge and it really affected the chain. I don't think anything has affected the chain and like the consciousness of the chain more than what's actually happening right now. The debate, the split. I mean, when it came to the SEC, everyone was like united, like F you SEC, everything's dropped, we hate you, you're not protecting us. It was pretty clear cut. Whereas this is like, it's created like this internal war that's like, yeah, really like pulling the community apart. So for me, I can't think of anything that could get any worse than this. This is literally like sucking liquidity out of the system from the inside out, from the most vulnerable place. Because yeah, PDI is connected to everything. It's got thousands of liquidity pools. Atropa is connected also to tens of thousands of liquidity pools. I can't see it getting worse than this. I can't. But again, I couldn't see this happening, so who really knows? But I feel like whatever the turning of this is, that would be it. But it doesn't necessarily mean that I think it's just going to go like, oh, slingshot up straight away. I still think there's going to have to be some sort of like external catalyst in the market that starts to be bullish for us to also be bullish. Because even after the SEC, because everything was going down, we also just continued to go down with the rest of the market. There wasn't really a pump because nothing else was pumping. So yeah, so from that perspective, it's like the sentiment is the lowest, but maybe it's slowly going to keep drizzling down with the rest of the wider market. But I really hope that this is the end, getting close to the end.
Yeah. I personally am waiting for Richard to get more vocal, possibly come back to streaming or whatnot, because I believe that he enjoys. I believe he likes calling the tops and bottoms of things like he has in the past, even before Hex. And I think that he's kind of also waiting for that. Like I'm kind of waiting to hear him return, be more vocal, so to speak. That's really that's the only thing I can think of to use as a signal or a sign that we're on our way up, because he does like to show up. He does like to take credit, and he likes that validation, which, I mean, we all like validation, but Richard Hart seems to be particularly motivated by validation and praise. So that's worked out really well for us on that 10,000x when he was, proving a point and gaining recognition. But since then, there really hasn't been a lot for him to take, pride over, other than maybe like the most token that he pumped for a little bit there, So that's kind of what I'm looking at. Believe in Yourself says another song memory triggered Fat Bottom Girls by Queen. And I guessed right. That was 1984 Shannon album, Let the Music Play. Rick Stansberry says, I guess we now have found a weakness in Hart's Law. I don't think there is a weakness in Hart's Law. I think Hart's Law is a two-edged sword, where if something goes up, you're going to go up. If something comes down, it's going to go down. And so I've been showing people, different charts on my stream, just being like, this is Hart's Law. Like if you're on Pulsechain and you have any significant liquidity tied to Pulsechain, it's going to go down with Pulsechain. Right? It's just Hex, Pulsechain, the core coins, the charts are very, very similar. They basically just all rhyme because of Hart's Law. So I would say, if nothing else, it actually backs up or what's the word I'm looking for? Reinforces Hart's Law is what we're seeing right now, including Bitcoin. Like, everyone's waiting for Bitcoin to go up, and a lot of people are deep diving into Bitcoin, being like, save us, Bitcoin. You got to be the lifeblood that flows into the rest of the market, right? And so you see people just all being like, when is Bitcoin going to go back up? When is it going to continue its run?
Yeah. Excuse me. Even that has been like a completely different, the way that it's interplayed in this cycle. Even the alt seasons haven't been as predictable as they might have been in the past. The liquidity hasn't flowed to the rest of cryptocurrency like it should have by this point. So that's been quite difficult. And in relation to Hart's Law, like you said, it's a double-edged sword, but it's also now is, okay, yeah, things can get lower, yes, but now is really the time where if you're trying to build something, if you're trying to like strengthen your own ecosystem or your own community or your own token, now is like the best time where you can really like strengthen it with everything while it's down, and then it can get lifted with everything when it goes up, and you can really deepen the strength of your own community with the liquidity that you can expand out into. Because as everything else is getting pulled up and you're bonded with hundreds of different tokens, then you're really giving a lot of strength to your ecosystem. So yeah, it's a double-edged sword, and just like anything, you can look at the pros and the cons. So yeah, the pros at the moment is things are down, but it's the best time to be building out the structure of your own web as well. So
what would you say are some of the best ways to create community and some of the best ways to destroy community in crypto that you've seen?
Well, the best way to create community is having aligned incentives. I mean, whenever we talk about being the best community, we're the best community when our incentives are aligned. Everybody's on the same team. Yep, Hex, Pulsechain go up. We're the best community ever. We can scream the loudest. We can vote. We can be everywhere. But as soon as those incentives aren't aligned, like they are at the moment, like we are. I mean, are we the best or the worst? It's difficult to say with the degree of split, because we're so staunch in our perspective. So yeah, aligned incentives is the best way to do it, and then not aligning incentives is the worst way to do it. So I'm not particularly like I'm not very experienced with building communities. I've just got my own channel. I don't really have like a Telegram group or anything like this. I just got a channel, and people often ask me, have you got anywhere that we can go to talk to you? But I don't really have anything like that. So to be honest, it's probably the most that I'd be able to like understand on community building. Just if everybody's following the same trajectory and everybody's incentives are aligned, then everybody's happy together. So
incentives and values. If you, what I'm hearing is focus on aligned values and what you have in common versus what you don't have in common.
Correct. Yeah, and then because we're humans, we're just responding to what we have. So if there's a system which makes us PvP against each other based on the design of the system, then we are going to PvP against each other. We are going to fight each other. But if there's a system that brings our incentives together and helps us move forward together, then we're going to all get along and have fun. So that's why Richard often talks about fix the money, fix the world, but I've always spoken about, well, fix the consciousness, then fix the world. But if you could get them both together, fixing the consciousness and the money at the same time, that's something where that actually makes a lot of sense. Because instead of looking at these two individual parts, you look at them together, and if that system is helping everybody move forward together, which is what it was doing with the original days of Hex, then everybody's going to be happy together. But at the moment, it's like the opposite effect because everything's down. But I really do believe that we are and we can create something where everybody wins on Pulsechain. I really do believe that.
Yeah, I believe so too. And I mean, the internet, if you watch the way the internet kind of came about and evolved, it was, at first it was just nerds in chat rooms and trying to create the internet, connect as much as they can. And then we had that the .com bust where everyone thought that they could sell something on the internet, but they didn't know how yet. So people just tried to shotgun and just make stuff stick to the wall. And that kind of feels like that's where we are in crypto right now, is everyone is just shotgunning. What can I get attention from? What's going to get people? What narrative is going to drive and engage people? How sticky can I make my product and my community is really where everyone's going to. And the further down the market goes, the more desperate people become for a quick flip or for a lottery or for a really fast, gain, like mad gains tomorrow. I need mad gains tomorrow because I'm down so much. Kind of like when you're at the casino and you're just doubling down, doubling down, doubling down. And what started as a $10 hand of blackjack is now you've got $3,000 on the table, and you've hit the table maximum, and it feels like we went past that level, right? In crypto, we're like, 6 months it'll be different, and then that went on for like 3 years. It's like it'll be better in 6 months, and it just never got better. It was like a bad comedy.
Yeah. But what you said about the internet, I think, is a really interesting, where we are in the context of the internet. And then after that bubble, what the internet wanted to be ended up emerging. So it had all this speculation and hype, and then it collapsed. And then out of that came what the internet wanted to be. And that's also, I mean, when you said that that's where we are in crypto, I completely agree. I feel like, where we are with crypto, it's like, this can't be it. This can't be it. Just, there has to be something more to it. Are we actually a decentralized financial system? Are we actually that? It doesn't feel like we are. It doesn't feel like we have true custody. It doesn't feel like, we're still beholden to banks. We're still beholden to centralized exchanges. It's not truly decentralized yet. There's like elements of it, and it's trying to be, but it's not completely that yet. So I'm really hoping that we're almost there. We're almost there.
Yeah, that's kind of it. Like, because during the .com bust, who would have pictured Amazon and Netflix, and Facebook, and YouTube, right? Like a few crackheads, like just pure crazy lunacy guys were like, someday we're gonna watch TV on here, and they're like, yeah, that's great. Thanks, Frank. Go back to your cubicle. That guy's nuts, right? But that's where we are. We're on this bleeding edge of like, we could do this with the blockchain. We could do that with the blockchain. The blockchain is an actual transparent system where all of the ledgers and all the Excel spreadsheets from traditional finance have been private or obscured, right? Like you're never going to see the Federal Reserve's actual balance sheets and Excel spreadsheets. You're not going to see the governments. You're not going to see your local banks. They're not going to show it to you because there is a power in having that information and not sharing it with others. And so blockchain came along, and now we have a ledger or a Excel spreadsheet that we can see. And over time, people don't know what they don't know, right? So they don't. A lot of people don't know there is a more transparent and verifiable source for power and money and legislation. And so once they do that, then they're going to be like, oh, I prefer this because I get ripped off less often. I get extorted. I get manipulated less often on this transparent blockchain. And then again, like Richard Hart has said, blockchain is a horribly inefficient server right now. It's you don't want to do something on blockchain unless you can't do it on private servers. If you can do it on private servers and you already trust people to do your insurance and escrow and titles and things like that, then go for that. However, once that becomes mainstream on blockchain, then a lot of people are going to say, oh, I prefer this. They just don't even know that 95% of human beings don't know that it exists.
Yeah. And, one of the ironies of all of this is once it reaches that form, I think just naturally people are going to come over because we have, like you said, the governments and the corporations, what they come after us for, they're doing themselves in the background. So they're trying to prosecute us. They're doing it. They're doing it. They are hypocrites.
I was playing the Washington hearings on stable coins, and it had the regular political bullshit back and forth, but they kept saying, we need to hold these stable coins to these standards and blah, blah, blah. And I thought to myself, the US dollar is not held up to any of those standards. It's made up with, and the only thing that gives it value is you pointing a gun in someone's face. Basically, the government's violence is basically what backs up fiat currencies right now. And
Mm.
so it was so bizarre, and I was triggered, obviously. But I was sitting there watching these people grandstand, these lawyers who are multi millionaires, upset because their power structure is being threatened, and their
Exactly.
control, they're losing grip of their control.
Exactly. But from my perspective, they've already lost. The world that they exist in the future, it's impossible for it to continue to exist like that. So however long it takes us to get there, if it's 1 year, if it's 10 years, if it's 100 years, it's inevitable that we'll get there. They've already lost. So even though we're kind of going through this process now, and there's pain and there's suffering and everybody's like fighting against it and trying to build something new, in the end, what is right is going to win in the end, because it's the truth. It's the truth. Like, that's the kind of freedom that people should have. We shouldn't. No, nobody, like. Do you want to go to war with people? People? We don't want to go to war. We don't want to send our sons to war. We don't want to send our kids to wars. We don't want to fight against other countries. Like, the vast majority of human beings don't want the conflict. They don't want the way. They don't want things the way that they are. We don't want a system where all the money trickles up to the 1%, and once they have that power, once they have it, everybody else just gets screwed over. We keep blaming, like in Australia at the moment, we're blaming like the real estate market. We're blaming like foreigners. Oh, it's the foreigners coming in faster than we're constructing houses. It's their fault that houses are so expensive. But we don't look at the history of capitalism that's injected all this fake liquidity into this housing market, which has already made it overinflated as it is. And yes, it's not to say that they're not a problem. They actually are a problem, the foreign investment. But that's something that's just compounding on this huge creation that we've created, which is totally broken. And we just keep trying to uphold this thing that it's just not going to, it can't continue to work. It can't continue to work. It's like a cancerous growth. So it's not in alignment with nature. This is not how nature works. Nature doesn't just rely on exponential growth. Exponential growth is cancer. So it can't continue like that. It has to be something that's more fluid, more dynamic, more for the people, more loving and caring and nurturing. We were talking about women at the start. Like, everything at the moment is a very masculine, like, drive forward, create, build. Nothing wrong with that. But now we need women to come in and like, okay, let's stop and just chill out, and we've got everything that we need. We don't need to fight each other and compete against each other. Let's share it all around. Who wants a world where there's a 1% up the top? Once they have that power, nobody can beat that. Nobody can beat that. There's no such thing as trickle-down economics. It's a bunch of BS. The liquidity stays up there. They can just keep accumulating more and more assets, and everybody just gets further and further left behind. And the statistics are there. It's not like, woo-woo, conspiracy theories. It's like, no, the data's there. We've been seeing this, and the gap just keeps widening and widening.
Right. And but the solution to all of these problems is people's minds and people's feelings and the narrative that people tell each other and subscribe to. Right. I mean, we could change everything in the world tomorrow if we were able to reach people emotionally and mentally, and let them, have them let go of these systems of belief and other things that don't serve them.
I completely agree. The only issue with that is people won't change until something like forces them to change. That's why now I'm just like, my perception is like, okay, fix the money, fix the world, but fix the consciousness at the same time. And so if the consciousness that is righteous is creating a financial system that is better for everybody, then it'll be like people embedding themselves into that system is also going to change their consciousness at the same time. It's going to make them act in a different kind of a way. And if it's right, if it's true, then it will naturally spread. It will just work. That's everything in nature just works. That's how I feel about it. So I'm very, very strong on the consciousness side of things. Very, very strong. Like, that's what I do. I'm running a meditation center. Like, my dream is to like create a consciousness revolution in Australia. I don't like how, we had this campaign like Stop the Boats, and America is doing that now. Let's build a wall and cut everybody off. Yes, it creates problems, but we have to look at we're only looking at the symptom. We're looking at the symptom. What actually created that? It's like the Western medical system. It's like, okay, well, I've been eating processed food and junk food, and now all of a sudden I've got these pock marks on my face. What am I going to do? I'll go to the doctors, take this medication. It's going to fix that. But I'm still eating all this junk food. I'm not exercising. I'm not taking care of my mind or my body. And so what am I doing? I'm just masking the problem. And that's what we're doing now. Stop the boats in Australia, just masking a deeper rooted problem that we don't want to face. So we need to fix like the root of the system, which is why I'm very, very big on consciousness revolution, when we can really see, oh, we're all just one. Why would I want to harm my neighbor who's also me? How does that serve me? It doesn't. Coexistence, Stephen. Coexistence is the way. We're living on a planet where we all have to live together no matter what. So it would serve us to work together than to fight against each other. Those days, in my opinion, are over.
I appreciate it. We're just getting going. This hour has completely flown by. And like I said, I wanted to give you as much of the time and a little bit too much in some of my.
I've rambled a lot too, man. Sorry.
I want to run through the comments, but we don't really have time to reply to them and go into this deeper. But I would love to stream again and have you on more often, because I think there's so many things that like we have in common. And I think obviously if we were in the same neighborhood, you and I would definitely enjoy each other's company. We'd just be hanging out and talking about this deep stuff that I love getting into. But just running here really quick, we got Amish Kid in here. Yeah, it says gang, something about teabagging from Believe in Yourself and World of Warcraft. We're writing.
I'm a World of Warcraft nerd, so.
Yeah. Did I catch a live show? Yeah, he's been working. Good to see you, Patrick Astros and stuff. Freedom dollars, I remember the freedom dollars. They were centralized, so they were taken out. I was about to type that a sign of it was being over is when you switch from accumulation to maintaining. The realm of the intangible has rules also. Yeah, that is a good sign of how we're evolving. Fortunately, operating in the intangible realm is accessible to many, aka the woo-woo. Yeah, they use promissory notes, laughing. The bite of the garlic is still strong on my tongue. I'm not sure what that's a reference to. Do you? Okay. The immune system. Yes, love to see more coexistence. Steven from Soul Spider, you're both hippies. That is true. We really are both pretty woo-woo hippies. I try to not let the woo-woo out on stream as much, but I can't help it. Good discussion. Dialogue is the key. Thank you, CryptoCat46. There's a reference to the salad I had tonight. Oh, okay. He's eating salad, already taking care of himself. All right. So remember, folks, what you do matters. You matter, and you are worthy of the desires of your heart. Remember those things. We're going to go out on a video from AJ Rip City Cuts and a song written by the community as well that kind of goes into our story, our novel, and some of the art that we have in our project. And we will catch you guys probably tomorrow. In Maria, we trust. Atropa will be back. Justice Gene 1776 showing up. Good to see you. Thank you for being here. Yeah, I'm going to do that. And then love you guys. Ciao.
Nova is here. He's the leader of Alpha, leading the charge. Yeah. With main man heavy, hit up right by his side at the raid. Together they fight, the drugs that corner, rich and valor, fighting for good. They refuse to back down in this war for justice. They wear the crown. Nova and heavy hitter, they rise from the dust. For the cause, they never back down. With Big Boy Leroy, his feet firmly underground. In the face of danger, they fight through it all. Champions of hope, they rise to the top. Through shadows of doubt, out. They light up the way with power and purpose. They seize every day. Their enemy tremble in the dark. Cool Nova and Heavy Hitter, our heroes embark in the big galaxy that's covered by night. They bring the fire and ammunition to ignite. For its alpha they serve, their honor was true. Cool Nova and Heavy Hitter, they rise from the dust, fighting for the cause.